Should churches... Do the successes of the 1960s civil rights movement mean it's over? Does affirmative action mean that groups like the NAACP are unnecessary? And are black leaders out of touch with the African American community? For a provocative kitchen table conversation, we brought together three people: Joe Hicks with Community Advocate, libertarian historian Tom Phillips, and commentator Jasmyne Cannick. The kitchen table is made possible by Ralph Tornberg.
Is America in a post-civil rights era, or is it not? Tom, what do you think?
Well, I definitely subscribe to the theory that we are in a post-civil rights era. The NAACP, unfortunately, is mired in what I call somewhat of a utopian atavism. They're going on utopian notions that existed and were prevalent and very popular, in fact, at a certain time in American history.
You know, I've been questioning the relevancy of the NAACP for a while now.
That's right. I've been reading stuff you've been writing about the NAACP, in fact.
As someone who's 29 and definitely benefited from the struggles in the 60s and the 70s, you know, I'm here and I look at what's going on in America, especially with African Americans, and I do think that we still have civil rights issues that need to be fought. The issue I have with the organization is just that they don't seem to want to move into the year 2007. They seem to be stuck in the 60s, and that is how they're operating.
What are the kind of issues facing black America today?
One of the first things is that they would start addressing the gay and lesbian civil rights movement, because it does affect African Americans. As we saw in previous presidential elections, that issue was used to divide our community, and organizations like the NAACP were silent, and they continue to remain silent, and it's causing a lot of damage in our communities. And it's on those sort of issues that they typically tend to be silent that I would push them to be more vocal on, and not just sort of those issues that we always think about, sort of like police brutality and education, but there are others, cultural and social issues like rap music, you know, and what that is doing to our children and in terms of our self-image as women. I mean, I think that's a very significant issue that would connect with a lot of different generations in the African-American community that they, again, have slept on and haven't said anything about.
What would you think an NAACP could or should be addressing if it is to maintain some vitality?
Okay, well, I'll answer that question by answering the first as well. The issues certainly are there. There are still issues in society. NAACP is running off of the theory that the same issues that existed in 1960 still exist in the year 2007, and that's not necessarily the case. So to organizations such as that, who have put their lives into achieving an idea, put their lives into achieving a particular form of civil rights, to admit that either this struggle has been successful, and therefore there's very little, and so you have to change the nature of the struggle, or to admit even that some of the things you've achieved have failed, and in fact produce the opposite of what you wanted. That's a very difficult thing when you put your life into achieving it. And so unfortunately they've reshaped what they consider free civil rights. It has now become a theory of distributive justice. They want to create certain ends. They want to create results and not necessarily opportunities.
Is part of the problem, though, Jasmyne, that we still call it the civil rights movement? Maybe it really is more of a self-analyzation of what are the issues internal to the black community and what organizational form should it take to address it?
We need to be talking to each other right now. It's not so much what the man is doing to us, even though that hasn't ended quite yet either. But we have more internal issues. We have more issues with our kids knowing, you know, who's on the top 5 in American Idol, but couldn't tell you what 2 times 2 is. You know, those are issues that we have. We have these issues where, you know, we've gone from saying, hey, brother and sister, to saying, hey, N-word and B-word, and accept it as a gesture, a token of, you know, welcoming. I mean, we've changed our language. We don't relate to each other. Half of us are scared of each other, because I know there are some black young men that walk down the street that I'm scared of. And it's like we spend all this time focusing on having these grand conventions and conferences where the who's who get together and sit around and don't really talk about the issues, and then all go back to their various states while the same the same problems that are going on in the black communities are still going on. They don't address those issues. That's why I talk about the relevancy, because when I leave from here today and I go back home, I'm driving by homeless African Americans. I'm driving by young women who are on the street corners selling their bodies because they have no other option. Those are the issues that we need to be focused on. We need to be trying to build our community up and our people up.
I do agree. There certainly is a reason, or there is a need to have an organization or even a group of people who can address and positively address the issues in the black community in America. So it's not that I'm against an organization in and of itself. What I'm against is the balkanization. What I'm against is politicizing issues that are societal, that are cultural, because the problems that affect the black community are problems that affect America. The black people are not unique in America. And so I think that addressing those problems, you have to do it in a way that addresses the needs of the people as they are Americans. How are you going to advance in a society? Not advance as black people, not constantly see yourself pegged into a balkanized hole, but really started happening in the 1960s. After the struggle, after the civil rights struggle had achieved so many advances. But it didn't happen because of anything unique to blacks. It happened simply because people started to have a vested interest in continuation of those problems. And as long as leaders, so to speak, including political leaders, have a vested interest in those problems, they will continue, and they will perpetuate themselves.
In many ways, this is the crux of this discussion. Where are we in contemporary American society, and what's the path forward?
I'm not saying that we don't need organizations like the NAACP, but we need to rethink what our strategy is, and we need to rethink how we're going to go about achieving whatever it is we're trying to achieve for our folks. And that's where we have not been very good at. All I see lately is just a lot of folks making a lot of money, and the folks who aren't making money still aren't making money, the haves and the have-nots. I don't see the NAACP making a concentrated effort to reach back and bring those of us that don't have it with them.
Tom, do you think that the NAACPs of the world would be supplanted by new organizational forms, or can organizations like that be reformed?
No, it can certainly be reformed, but I don't think it'll be supplanted. They are far too entrenched. But in terms of reshaping the organization, as she mentioned earlier, people don't live forever, so I think by attrition, it's going to reshape on its own. Whether it'll be infused with new ideas, new personalities, who knows? I guess
that's going to be the last word for right now. We're out of time, but we'll continue some of the point. Guys, thanks for coming and having this discussion. Appreciate it.